Good evening and welcome to Courts Today by Live Law. I am Urvashi Chauhan, and in this video we cover the conviction of former MP Prajwal Ravanna in a rape case, the Supreme Court's strong words to Delhi police over negligence in a custody matter, and criticism of ED over spreading misleading information. We also touch upon the top court's environmental concerns about the state of Himachal Pradesh, the issue of unpaid MBBS internships, and more key rulings from across India. Stay tuned for all updates. Make sure to watch this video till the end and do not forget to subscribe and hit the bell icon. Starting with a major development, a special court in Bengaluru has convicted Janata Dal secular leader and former MP Prajwal Ravanna in one of the rape cases filed against him, the first FIR registered at Holena Rasipura Rural Police Station in Hassan district. This case relates to the allegations made by a woman who worked as a maid at the Ravanna family farmhouse. She accused Prajwal of repeatedly raping her since COVID-19 lockdown in 2021, filming the assaults and later using those videos to intimidate and silence her. The Court of Additional Sessions Judge Santosh Gajanan Bhatt had earlier framed charges against Ravanna under serious provisions of the IPC, including rape by a person in a position of dominance, repeated rape, sexual harassment, voyeurism, criminal intimidation, and destruction of evidence. He was also charged under the Information Technology Act for violating privacy. Today, the court convicted him on all accounts. The sentence is expected to be pronounced tomorrow. For context, let me tell you, Prajwal Ravanna is currently in judicial custody. He was arrested by the Special Investigation Team on 30th May last year, soon after landing in Bengaluru from Germany. So far, 3 cases have been filed against him and all are under SIT investigation. In the next update, a Delhi court has criticized the Enforcement Directorate for the way it presented details of a raid linked to Aam Aadmi Party leader Satyendra Jain in a tweet posted in June 2022. The court said that ED's tweet, which claimed a cash worth 2.85 crore and 1.8 kg of gold were seized from the premises of Satyendra Kumar Jain and others. The court said this was misleading and gave the wrong impression that recovery was made from Jain's house when in fact nothing was seized from his premises. The court pointed out that while the phrase "and others" was technically included, it was done so ambiguously, making it appear as if Jain himself was directly involved in the recovery. It went on to say that this kind of vague and sensationalist communication not only harms the individual's reputation, but also undermines the credibility of an investigative agency like the ED. The judge emphasized that agencies like ED must act fairly and impartially and avoid creating politically prejudiced narratives, especially through official social media platforms. These observations came while the court was hearing a defamation case filed by Satyendra Jain against BJP MP Bansuri Swaraj, who had echoed ED's claims in a TV interview. However, the court rejected Jain's case, observing that Swaraj had simply quoted what ED itself had tweeted and there was no proof of any malicious intent on her part. But in a strong message to the Enforcement Directorate, the court made it clear that presenting facts in a misleading manner violates fundamental rights and can amount to abuse of power. Moving ahead, the top court has strongly criticized the Delhi police for what it called sheer negligence after a Russian woman fled India with her 5-year-old son despite express court directions in an ongoing child custody dispute with the child's Indian father. This case stems from an ongoing custody battle between Victoria Basu, a Russian citizen, and her Indian husband. As per the Supreme Court's earlier order, both parties were living separately in Delhi and sharing joint custody of their child, with the mother having custody for 3 days a week and the father for the remaining 4. On 7 July, the father reported that both the mother and child had gone missing. He later informed the court that the woman had been seen entering the Russian embassy through a back door, accompanied by a diplomat, a claim that further complicated the investigation. A bench of Justices Suryakant and Joy Malia Bagchi today made scathing remarks while reviewing the status reports filed by the Delhi police and the affidavit submitted by the Ministry of Home Affairs. The court noted that the police completely failed to enforce its May 22nd order, which had specifically directed Delhi police to maintain discreet but effective surveillance on residents of both parents and even to deploy women officers in case of emergency action. But instead, on 7 July, the woman managed to leave her Delhi home with the child using a back door and travel all the way to Narkatiyaganj in Bihar by taxi, cross into Nepal and fly out to Russia via Sharjah, all without being stopped. The court remarked that this was a case of criminal negligence and said that even after the father lodged a complaint, there was no prompt response from the authorities. The court observed that if Delhi police had taken timely steps, they could have prevented the woman from leaving the country, especially since she was in Nepal for at least 4 days before boarding a flight. According to the concerned, the court noted that original Indian passport of the child was with the court, raising suspicion that forged or duplicate travel documents might have been used. The court slammed the police for not even examining this angle. Justice Kant was firm in saying that local police officials, including the DCP, would be held accountable. He added that treating the matter lightly simply because it involved a custody dispute was completely unacceptable, especially when the child was technically in the custody of the court and not of the either parent. The bench also pulled up the airline companies that allegedly refused to share travel details, citing privacy concerns. Justice Kant responded that no airline can hide behind privacy laws when a criminal offense is being investigated. Meanwhile, Additional Solicitor General Aishwarya Bhati, appearing for the Union of India, told the bench that the government has initiated diplomatic channels with Nepal, UAE and Russia and confirmed that the woman and child have indeed reached Russia. The court has directed Ministry of Home Affairs to urgently contact the Indian Embassy in Moscow and use all available Interpol and diplomatic mechanisms to locate the child and bring him back. The court also called it a complete violation of its orders, stating that it may amount to criminal contempt of court and could invite prosecution under Indian penal law. The bench has given the authorities one final opportunity to act, saying that before initiating harsh action, it will wait to see what concrete steps are taken. The matter is now scheduled to be heard after 10 days. In a case that raises questions about accountability within India's political parties, the top court has refused to entertain a public interest litigation seeking to apply workforce sexual harassment laws to political parties. The Supreme Court has allowed withdrawal of a PIL that sought to bring political parties under the ambit of the POSH Act. A bench led by Chief Justice of India B.R. Gavai and Justice K. Vinod Chandran heard the matter today. The petitioner had urged the court to interpret the POSH Act in a way that would make political parties accountable for internal complaints of sexual harassment. But from the very outset, the bench expressed its reluctance. CJI Gavai told the petitioner's counsel, Senior Advocate Shobha Gupta, that this is a matter of legislative policy and the court could not direct Parliament on how to act. CJI Gavai even advised the petitioner to mobilize support from women parliamentarians to bring a private member's bill to the Parliament instead. Senior Advocate Shobha Gupta clarified that she was not seeking the enactment of a new law, but rather an interpretation of the existing one, arguing that political parties do fall within the definition of workplace and employer under the POSH Act. She pointed to the 2021 Kerala High Court judgment, which held that political parties are not bound to constitute internal complaints committee and sought a fresh interpretation from the apex court. But the top court remained firm. It refused to entertain the petition and noted that the issue could only be addressed through legislative means. At that point, the petitioner sought liberty to withdraw the plea and pursue legal remedies by challenging the Kerala High Court's verdict instead. The court allowed the withdrawal and granted liberty to the petitioner to explore further remedies in accordance with law. You should also know the petitioner had named major national political parties as respondents, including the BJP, the Congress, CPIM, NCP, etc., along with the Union Government and the Election Commission of India. The top court has rejected a plea challenging a Delhi High Court rule that says only retired judges from Delhi can apply to become senior advocates in the Delhi High Court. The case was about Rule 9B of the Delhi High Court's Senior Advocate Rules 2024. This rule says only those judges who have retired from the Delhi Higher Judicial Service can apply to be designated as senior advocates in the Delhi High Court. That means judges who have retired from other states like Uttar Pradesh, Bihar or any other cannot apply. Vijay Pratap Singh, a retired judge from Uttar Pradesh, had challenged this rule. He argued that this was unfair and discriminatory because it created two classes of retired judges, one from Delhi and one from other states. He argued before the Supreme Court that this violates the right to equality under Article 14 of the Constitution. But the bench led by Chief Justice of India B.R. Gavai refused to accept his argument. The CJI advised and said, why don't you apply to the Supreme Court? In the Supreme Court, everyone can apply. The top court dismissed the petition without much discussion. Well, let me tell you, the Delhi High Court had earlier said that evaluating who should become a senior advocate involves more than just reading files. It also requires knowing how the person behaved in court, how they argued, and their reputation. Judges in Delhi are more likely to know Delhi-based officers well, so allowing retired judges from other states to apply would not be practical. It had also clarified that this rule was not against equality because the difference was based on valid reasons. Are courts meant to serve lawyers or the people? That's the question the Supreme Court underscored while hearing a case related to shifting a court from Machilipatnam to Avigada in Andhra Pradesh. Whether the courts are meant to serve lawyers or the people. That's the question that the Supreme Court underscored while hearing a case related to shifting a court from Machilipatnam to Avanigada in Andhra Pradesh. Today, the Supreme Court made strong remarks about the resistance shown by lawyers whenever courts are relocated or new courts are established. A bench of Chief Justice of India B.R. Gavai and Justice K. Vinod Chandran was hearing a petition challenging the Andhra Pradesh High Court's decision, which had upheld shifting of the 6 additional district and sessions court from Machilipatnam to Avanigada. The Andhra Pradesh High Court in its earlier decision had acknowledged that the shifting may cause inconvenience to lawyers based in Machilipatnam, but said that the move was in larger interest of litigants from Avanigada. These are litigants who would otherwise have to travel long distances to attend hearings. The challenge against this order of the High Court was brought by a member of the Machilipatnam Bar Association who was also the petitioner before the High Court. But the Supreme Court refused to entertain his petition. While rejecting the plea, the top court made sharp oral observations on recurring issue, that is the tendency of lawyers to resist the establishment or relocation of courts. The Chief Justice of India remarked that courts exist for the benefit of litigants, not just lawyers, and that ensuring access to justice at the doorstep should be the guiding principle. The CJI pointed out that despite judiciary's push for decentralization through Gram Nyayalayas and doorstep justice, opposition from lawyers continue to be a hurdle. The state of Himachal Pradesh has for many years been prone to landslides, flash floods, and extreme weather events. In recent times, we are seeing alarming visuals. Cloudbursts wiping out roads, multi-story buildings collapsing like paper, and entire villages cut off for days. The impact of unchecked construction, tree felling, and unregulated tourism on the environment now seems to have reached a tipping point. In this regard, the Supreme Court, warning of the massive ecological crisis building up in the region, today remarked that the entire state of Himachal Pradesh may vanish in thin air from the map of the country. This was while the court was hearing an appeal filed by Pristine Hotels and Resorts Private Limited, which had challenged a Himachal Pradesh government notification that prohibited private construction at Sri Taramata Hill, declaring it a green area. The company wanted to construct a hotel on the site, but the state barred it to protect the ecological balance. The Himachal Pradesh High Court had upheld the government's decision, and the company moved the Supreme Court against it. While the top court also dismissed the appeal and upheld the green zone protection, it took the opportunity to make broader observations about rampant environmental degradation. The top court today raised deep concern over uncontrolled development, tree felling, tourism pressure, and poor waste management in Himachal. A bench of Justices J.B. Pardiwala and R. Madhavan said that the situation has gone so bad that revenue generation cannot come at the cost of nature. It noted that although the state collects a green tax meant for protecting the environment, there is little to no monitoring of where that money goes. And without urgent changes, natural disasters like the cloud bursts, landslides, and flash floods will only get worse. The judges pointed to recent disasters in Kullu and Manali and Mandi, linking them to illegal construction, forest guard checkposts being removed, and cutting hills without proper safeguards. The court also highlighted how unchecked tourism is damaging the environment. Waste is piling up in hill towns with no proper segregation or disposable systems. Water shortages, traffic jams, and pollution are becoming the new normal in tourist seasons, and many hotels and homestays are being built on dangerous, landslide-prone areas without clearance just to meet tourist demand. The court did not just stop at the criticism. It has converted the appeal into a PIL and directed the Himachal Pradesh government to submit a report within 4 weeks showing what steps have been taken to control the environmental damage. The case will now be heard again on 25th August, but until then, the warning is clear. save Himachal or lose it forever. The Supreme Court has directed the Army College of Medical Sciences to pay stipend arrears calculated at 25,000 per month to MBBS interns of the 2022 batch who were earlier denied this payment. This case stems from a plea filed in 2023 by MBBS interns of the Army College of Medical Sciences who highlighted that despite working long hours during their mandatory internship, they were not being paid any stipend. In September 2023, the Supreme Court intervened and directed the college to pay a stipend of 25,000 per month to the interns from October 2023 batch onwards. However, the benefit was not extended to earlier batches, leading the 2022 batch, which had completed their compulsory internship, to approach the court for parity. A bench of Justices Sudhanshu Dholia and Arvind Kumar questioned the college's conduct, asking why these students who had already given their services were left unpaid. The Army College claimed that it is run by a private society and not government funded, but the bench rejected the argument, observing that since the interns worked for the institution, they must be paid the same as others. Thus, it has now ordered that the 2022 interns also be paid 25,000 per month for the duration of their internship. The total arrears are to be calculated and disbursed within 8 weeks.